What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to teach you how we gained over 20,000 clicks in just 3 months using a multilingual international SEO strategy. The first thing you want to do when you're starting an international SEO strategy is assess the need and ROI of each individual market. You can do this using your own data via two ways. One is with Google Search Console. If you are gaining any kind of users from a country, you'll be able to identify them by going to search results, clicking on countries, and then you'll see exactly who your top countries are in order of clicks or impressions. An alternative solution, and this way is a little more granular, is going into Google Analytics and navigating to the demographic details. Now from here, you can break your demographics down into a whole range of things, but we're just going to focus on country. Using both Google Analytics and Google Search Console, I was able to identify that France, where we should target with our SEO strategy. Using this method, we're able to identify any kind of potential business growth that we have in these emerging markets. So again, when you're starting your translation efforts, you really want to identify who your primary target is and then start working down that list. Before we continue, I want to make note that you're aware that a direct translation via ChatGPT or any form of plugin may not result in the efforts that you're looking for. Sometimes things get a little lost in translation, and a machine is not going to be able to pick up on that. So my recommendation is to do all of the heavy lifting with ChatGPT and then get a professional translation service to just kind of give it a once over and make sure that everything's in alignment and you're being culturally appropriate and accurate. So with that out of the way, let's continue. When you're starting out, you may mistakenly believe that keywords translate to an international audience, but this is not the case. I'm going to show an example here using both French and English, specifically the United States, and I really want you to focus in on the search volume for these terms. So for this example, I used the same batch of 19 keywords, and they were all focused on either global SEO or international SEO. The one on the left is specifically looking at France, and the one on the right is looking at the United States. I updated both sets of keywords to make sure that we're getting the most up-to-date information. So now we can see on the left, for international SEO, that's still our top keyword, but the volume is only 140 searches estimated per month. Whereas on the right in the United States, that number drastically improves to 2.4 thousand. And if you continue looking at this list, the numbers are vastly different. To be the most effective, make sure that you're targeting keywords that are resonating with that audience. In the next step, we're going to be focusing on page optimization, and we're going to do this in two ways. The first of which is using Screaming Frog to extract all of our URLs, our meta titles, and our meta descriptions. And then the next step is going to be providing ChatGPT with a prompt in order to translate these. If you're new to SEO and you don't know what Screaming Frog is, it's probably the most robust and widely used technical tool available. We're just scratching the surface of the capabilities, but there are a ton of great resources online for you to learn more about it. And it's a freemium tool. So I think that you can use the free version up to 200 URLs or maybe 500 URLs, and then you would need the paid version after that. In this example, we're taking a look at my digital marketing website, and it's a brand new website, and I don't have too many URLs, so it's going to make this example a lot easier. If you're working on a large website or even an enterprise level website, I really recommend using Screaming Frog's paid version or another third-party tool like DeepCrawl. So I've configured my spider, I've entered my URL, and then I've just navigated to internal, and I only want to take a look at the pages, not the images. I'm going to export this using Excel, but I want you to annotate which version you're using. Are you using a CSV, an XLS, or an XLSX? Because we're going to take that information and we're actually going to provide it to ChatGPT just to make sure that we don't run into any hiccups. So I've opened my document, and it's going to give you a whole bunch of columns that are really unnecessary for what we're doing here. So I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to show you what I have. So I've cleaned up my document, and this is what we have left. On our first column, we have our address or our URLs. In our second column, I've renamed it current meta title. In column C, we have current meta description. And then in column D, we have our target language. Now, this is going to be important because when we upload it to ChatGPT, we're also going to be providing it with a prompt that matches this. So if you rename your columns into something else, just make sure you adjust that in the prompt itself. So using ChatGPT 4 with advanced data analysis enabled, I've dragged and dropped our new spreadsheet into the window, and I've also provided it with the prompt. Now, guys, in the prompt where it says enter your brand, just make sure that you add it in there. I've already done that using my brand name, which is just my name. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell ChatGPT that in column 1, we have our URLs. In column 2, we have our current meta titles in English. In column 3, we have our current meta descriptions in English, or whatever language you're translating from. And then column 4 is our target language for translation. Now, to make it easier for the video, I'm just simply choosing French. But if you have multiple languages, you can label them in there. Just make sure that you copy your rows. So if you only have 5 pages that you want to translate into French, and then you have those same 5 pages you want to translate into Italian, you would copy those rows down into more rows. And then the bottom section of this is asking ChatGPT to translate the English meta titles and descriptions from columns 2 and 3 into the language specified in column 4. And we want to maintain their current tone. Again, we're ensuring that our brand name remains untranslated unless you want it translated, in which point you would just remove this sentence. Then we're asking ChatGPT to place the translated meta titles that it's creating into column 5 and the translated meta descriptions into column 6, so that when we re-download the Excel file with ChatGPT, we have all of that at our disposal. After your prompt is done running, ChatGPT will provide you with a link to download your new Excel file. Now, if it doesn't include a link, just simply ask it to provide you with a link so that you can extract that data via Excel and you can kind of look it over. And that's exactly what I did here. So columns A through D were what we originally provided ChatGPT. So I will just hide those for now. And then columns E through H are what ChatGPT provided me in return. When you open up your file, you're not going to have a length column unless you specifically asked for it. I actually forgot to ask for it, so I just went in and I used a len formula to calculate the total length of each title. You have to remember, when you uploaded it, you did so in its original character form. In English, this title may have been 55 characters. However, during the translation process, it increased to 58. The reason you want to check this is to make sure that your new titles and meta descriptions are not going to be truncated on the SERP. And then for basically all of my meta descriptions, you'll notice that the lengths are too long. So what I would do in this instance is I would re-provide it to ChatGPT and I would ask it for a new meta title to actually match our character count limit, which is right around 160 characters. But ideally, you would have manual input and you would have someone that's fluent in whatever language you're translating to rewrite it themselves. If you are looking to do a manual translation of your entire website, you would just repeat this process with Screaming Frog, extract all of the content from your blog posts, your landing pages, your home page, your product page, your checkout page, etc. And you would ask ChatGPT to translate each one of those into your new language. After you're done your translation process, you still have a couple of more steps. The first one is identifying whether you're going to go with a subdirectory or a subdomain for your translations. Now, I recommend using a subdirectory just because it's a little more SEO friendly and it's easier to manage. You also need to consider adding hreflang tags. These tags are going to signal to search engines which language to use for your audience. So if your audience's IP is in France, the hreflang is going to signal to Google to serve the French page to that user. And this is going to help you geo-target users for a variety of different reasons, but primarily for currency, shipping, seasonality, as well as overall content. If you're looking at the source code of a page and you're specifically looking for the hreflang, this is the section that you're going to be searching for. When you're trying to cater to the same language but different regions, you would have to use the localized version. So in my example here, I called out that it's ES for Spain, and then the hreflang for Mexico is ES-MX. But keep in mind that hreflang tags are just a signal. It does not necessarily mean that Google is actually going to crawl that page, index it, and serve it to your user. It's going to help, but it's not a direct one-to-one ratio. Now, to make your life a lot easier, I'm actually going to go against the grain here. The amount of time it takes you to translate all of your pages via ChatGPT probably isn't going to be worth it in the end. For that reason, I recommend using an app or a plugin for your website that's going to do all of that heavy lifting and is going to use a machine database to translate for you. So you no longer have to worry about adding the hreflang and the correct subdirectories. Your chosen tool is going to do it on your behalf. Now, I have two up here that I've worked with in the past. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. So if you decide to go with a different one, that's perfectly fine by me. But I've used both of these for clients over the years, and they both seem to work out really well. The one on the left is WPML. It's reasonable. It's currently going for 99 euros as of writing. So again, it's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of headache, and a lot of effort by just adding it to your WordPress site. The one on the right is Weglot, and it does basically the exact same thing, but this one's available for Squarespace, Webflow, WordPress, Shopify, and I think a couple of more CMSs. However, Weglot, when you compare it to WPML, the equivalent pricing structure, it is a little more expensive. For 50,000 words, you're going to be paying 290 euros a year, whereas for 90,000 words on WPML, you're going to be paying 99 euros a year. If you made it this far, I'm going to assume that you're interested in a few more tips before we head out. I really recommend setting up social media channels to target your brand new audience. Because while they may have found you via organic, they may not find you on social. And plus, when you start interacting with your international market in their language and discussing things that are relevant to them, it's going to open up more possibilities. Similarly, I also recommend that you start an email campaign to target that international audience. And lastly, try to improve your backlink acquisition on websites that are native to your international audience. So throughout this video, I've been showing you how to translate your website into French. So I would be targeting French websites to see if they will include a backlink to my website. And that's going to send a signal to Google that you are a reputable website in that market. So guys, I hope you liked this video and you learned something. If you did and you want to help me out, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. Now, if you didn't like this video, hit the thumbs up anyway. And until next time, this is Todd.